So today, I and my co-founder Susmit, we are going to talk about Huddle01 Unveiled, the blueprint for tomorrow. Let's talk about communication from the actual philosophical level and actually the history of it. This is a picture of the Homo sapiens after winning their war against the Neanderthals. Now, it's been 200,000 years since we had developed language. But in so many years, we should have reached a level where we could have done what we are seeing in the science fiction movies, similar to what Jarvis or Iron Man has, that I can talk to anyone in a much more holographic fashion rather than talking on a 2D screen. Right now, the screens which we have are still a 2D one in which we are not able to do an immersive call. So that's the reason, if we are able to solve this, if we are able to make sure that our communication becomes much more immersive, we'll be able to solve all these big issues like climate change, in terms of medical, in terms of all the things which one also mentioned about, in a much more faster fashion if we just improve the way humans can communicate at large distances. Now, how does it happen right now? So everyone right now, from Microsoft Teams to Zoom to Google Meet to Huddle01, uses something called as WebRTC. WebRTC is a bunch of protocols which is used for doing this real-time communication in a peer-to-peer fashion, and you can expand that by doing a much more scalable calls. WebRTC market is growing, and COVID has played a major role in that, and we understood that, hey, coordinating at a large scale becomes very, very easy if you are able to do that in a video fashion. And this is the overall market share. It's growing extremely fast, but it comes with its own problems, as we discussed in the previous slides, is that the problem of RTC is that there's a centralized architecture. That architecture has a single point of failure. The servers are black box. That means it's transport encrypted, but not content encrypted. That means your calls can still be seen if you're doing on any of the video calls in itself. Though you are providing the intellectual value of the call, but all the value is accrued either by the platform or by the centralized infrastructure below it. Now, this is a diagram where we have shown that there's a tree. In this tree, you can see that there's a centralized server below, and all these different kind of, so WebRTC can power any kind of things, like something like Facebook Live, something like you are doing a Zoom call or a Google Meet call, or any kind of things which requires an audio and video. But as you can see is that though the branches of the tree are so many, but there's a centralized point of failure, which is that red area in itself. And that's the biggest problem. The problem in terms of central point of failure, privacy issues, performance issues, as well as a top-down economy. And that's where, because of the whole Web3 market and Web3 researchers, analysts, we have come with a new paradigm, which you also called as DePIN, also called as decentralized physical infrastructure networks. It's just a categorization, but what it means is that there are so many smart devices, I think, which one also mentioned in his talk, which is extremely powerful. So how about if we are able to make sure that instead of having a central server, your laptop, your devices become a node itself, and the communication becomes node to node rather than using a server in itself. This is a great deep-in sector map of various different kind of things which are out there. In storage network, as you can see, Filecoin has been leading the chart for a long time now. There are other networks like CDNs, VPN, sensor, energy. You'll be hearing from the Helium team as well, who are doing some extremely good work in 5G. That means going after these various big AT&Ts of the nature and making sure that you don't have to pay $80 per month, but rather pay $5 per month for your kind of using this internet service in itself. Huddle01 follows a three-pronged approach. The first is an app, the second is an SDK, and the third is the protocol. Now, though we want to solve that core, which is that root, meaning that you need to make sure that the central point of failure goes away, but then you have to build that also in a progressive manner. So what we've done is that we built an app first. It's available everywhere on Google Play Store, on App Store, on your plugins, and anyone can use it. It's very easy to use, similar to how you can use Google Meet and Zoom, but it has this Web3 primitives. That's why you're able to have this experience which is not possible, and you create these new emergent behaviors which are not possible via the other platforms out there. But that's the start. That's just to bootstrap the network which we are creating. The second is the SDKs. These are the building blocks. That means anyone who wants to use an audio and video, they can use our SDKs, and bam, that's it. You are able to connect, have an audio and video calls in your own platforms, in your own apps, in a fraction of 5 lines of code. Moving forward, this is the network which ideally will get created. This network is what we call people-powered network, which doesn't have a central point of failure, is secured, has much better performance, and has a bottom-up economy in itself. As you can see here, if you're able to solve this, the central point of failure, and people are able to run these nodes which are in their own hands, in their own laptops, we can have a way more scalable call, way more, which is much more economical, and you can do this kind of immersive communication which is not possible right now in the current architectures out there. Now, communication should be a public good, which should be open, neutral, borderless, decentralized, and censorship resistant. So today, I'm proud to announce that Huddle01 is transitioning to a node-to-node architecture, and you can run your own node in your own device, and that device is in my hand, so you can use something like an Orange Pi to run a Huddle01 node, and this is something which is a testament to our development team, to our protocol team, and to everyone else. So yeah, that's about it. Thank you so much, and with that, I bring my co-founder and CTO, Susmit here.
Hey guys, I hope you guys are having fun, but let me take you on a journey, right? So right now, we all use Instagram, we all use Facebook, we all use WhatsApp, we use Google Meet, we use Zoom, and all of those things, right? If we just count the number of hours we spend on this app, is way more than we spend maybe even socializing in person, right? But here is one thing. All of this infrastructure is basically on top of a centralized infrastructure, right? This massive value that we have goes through a centralized infrastructure that is controlled by big giant companies like MNCs and all of those things. So what we need to do? The only way to progress here is basically we replace this consensus-less based microservices with consensus-based node-to-node protocol. So here is a brief journey of Web3. So when the Web3 crypto actually started, so we used to have like payment systems like Monero, Bitcoin, and all of those things. Then the next generation of chains came, which was like programmability came into the picture, like EVM and all of those things. So that gave rise to Ethereum, Solana, Cardano, Near blockchain, and all of those things. But right now, what we are seeing is basically a transition on basically a modular architecture that the blockchain has on this case. So this is actually the state of Web3, right? So we have layer 1s, we have layer 2s, and we have other layer 1s, right? But what we see is that all of them are actually interconnected. They are interconnected by bridges, and these bridges are of special types, right? So if they are layer 1, layer 2, there's like internal bridges. If it is like layer 2s and layer 1s, there's like community bridges to facilitate the transfer of the value. And if there are layer 1s and layer 2s, then there is like cross-chain bridges that actually transfers the value. Now what we are seeing in the Web3 space is that there are discoveries of new cryptographic primitives like ZKP, FHEs, MPCs, Reed-Solomon encoding. So what this is enabling is basically developers are making more layer 1s, they are making more layer 2s, they are making more community bridges, and they are making more other layers on that part. But this is not what actually Web3 needs. Web3 doesn't need more layers, or more bridges. Web3 needs a chain that has its own value generation capacity. And one of the prime example of this is Filecoin. So Filecoin has the storage on which it can generate its own value. So what is the future of chains? The future of chains is basically a chain that could sustain itself and could also sustain a value creation mechanism on top of it. It should actually coexist in a synergetical model with other chains on top of it. It should always provide an optionality with the sovereignty. There should be a modular thing into the built-in, and then it is basically communicating with other system in a canonical, external, and naturally minted way. But what we actually need is social consensus. there is no layer right now that provides a social consensus. And social consensus is the most important layer for humanity. And this is what we are actually working on our next project. That is why I'm very proud to announce our next initiative. It's called Layer 01. Thank you.